I do with it. But first I want to talk about how I make my seed starting mix. I don't buy the bag stuff at the store, not that there's anything wrong with it. You got to do what you got to do. But over the years, I have found that it's more expensive and there's not really a necessity for it. There are a couple things you do need when you're starting your seeds. You don't want to use garden soil. You don't want to use soil right out of your garden for seed starting. Indoors at least. When I plant stuff straight into the garden, it's not really a big deal. But when you're doing it inside, which I do it inside, I don't have a greenhouse. I don't have room for a greenhouse, and it's honestly, it's too cold here to really do that without a heater. So I start my seeds indoors. And the thing is when you're starting seeds inside, if you were to use garden soil, which I have done in the past before I really knew what I was doing, I was like, oh, let me just grab some dirt out of the garden and everything's going to be great. It's the same as if I were outside, right? Well, no, what wound up happening was the seeds rotted, the soil got moldy, etc. The soil in our garden is alive. It has all kinds of bacteria, it has microbes, it has all these wonderful things that are great for the garden and they're absolutely necessary in the garden. But when you're in a controlled environment such as a house, you don't, it's just not the same. You're not getting the same air circulation. You're not, it's just not the same. So I wound up with moldy seeds, moldy pots, all kinds of different things like that. And then I realized that really what you need is a soil-less medium. So what I have here is, this is actually what I use to make it. This is coco coir. It's basically coconut shells that were broken down and processed, and it comes in these bricks. So you'll actually see them in these little seed pod things that they sell. Overpriced. I don't use it. God bless you if you want to use it. It's probably good for somebody who has never started. Maybe if you do want to use these little seed pods, but essentially what they are is they're little discs of this coco coir. So I buy in bulk. I have a huge box of these bricks because they break down pretty nicely for me. And then perlite is going to add drainage. It's going to add aeration, all kinds of good stuff. And it's, it's actually quite affordable. This, I think, was like $8 or something. And this, because I got a lot of them, that's going to be a little bit more. It was probably like $20 or something. But not only do I use that coco coir to start my seeds, I actually do use it in the containers in my garden, and even in very dry spots in my bed, in my garden beds. So I do use it out there too, and I'm always using it. So for me, I like to buy it in bulk. It works out to be a little bit cheaper that way. So anyway, and then I have this container here that it's actually like a very old, I want to say it's like a K'Nex box that I had from a long time ago. When me and my husband were younger, we met at 16, so we were still farting around with like toys and stuff. So I've saved this for a long time now, and it just so happens that it works out that this brick right here fills up almost this whole thing when it is moisturized, when it's rehydrated. So that's why I love this bucket. It's perfect for my indoor setup because I don't have a huge amount of space here, and I don't want to bring a big giant bucket, right? But this is perfect for mostly, I might have to do another bucket of this seed starting mix that I make. We'll see about that. So one thing about this, before I show you exactly what I'm doing here, is that when you're starting your seeds indoors with a soil-less medium like this is, there is no life in this soil. It is devoid of any life, right? There is no microbes there, unless you get some really like bad quality, which I have done before, and that is not sterile, and that actually can cause fungus and stuff. But this brand that I use, I think it's like Organics, something like that. It is sterile, it doesn't cause fungus, but I digress. Anyway, when you're doing this and you don't have any nutrition to the soil, like would be found out in your garden, you are going to need to fertilize these seeds after a little period of time. Once the, and I'll be going through this because I'm going to make several videos just to show everybody that it's doable and you could do it without like some big gigantic setup. You could do it, you know, on a small scale if you wish. So you are going to need to fertilize these plants after a couple weeks when they're growing their true leaves, because at that point the seed has exhausted all of its nutrition, and so at that point it will not grow anymore unless it can find a source of energy. When the seed starts growing, it actually has all of the nutrition inside of the seed itself that will sustain it until it can find a different source of energy elsewhere, you know, in the ground. So because we're here, we're inside, there is no there's no compost here, there is no organic matter here that could feed it. I shouldn't say organic matter, but there's no, you know, there's no source of food here. So we will have to, in a future video, I'll show you how I do a very diluted solution of organic fertilizer. So for today, I'm just going to show you what I've been doing and how I am starting, you know, some of my seeds. And not all my seeds are going to be done today. It really depends on what type of plant it is. Today I'm going to be doing tomatoes because I like to start my tomatoes about 6 to 8 weeks before I'm going to be planting them out. And that would be around today. Actually, last year I did a little slightly, like it would be a week earlier last year that I did, but I got very busy this year. So here's where we are, and we're going to be just fine. So I'm going to make a couple arrangements here, and then we'll continue with this video. All right, so what I had done, and I want to say, well, let's look at the date here. So just a couple days ago, what I did, and I like to do this method of seed germination really when it's for very specific plants, either seeds that I have that are super old and I don't know if they're going to germinate, so I don't want to just throw them into soil and wait 3 weeks to see if anything's going to happen. They could just be dead. They could be expired. So I do that in those instances, but I also do this seed germination method when I have specialty seeds that cost a lot of money, or seeds that cost a lot of money and don't have a lot in the package. I should have really popped out some of the stuff that I'm talking about here. But anyway, so these are, okay, so these aren't necessarily like something crazy special, but it is a new seed that I'm going to be starting this year. I've never done it before. It's a Rosella cherry tomato. So it's going to be darker, more burgundy colored. I just think it would be something cool. You know, I do like the darker variety tomatoes, and cherry tomatoes are so prolific that why not try it, right? So anyway, a couple days ago, and I haven't opened this yet, so I'm hoping that these actually did start to pop off. Yeah, there you go. So here we can see I have a wet paper towel, I have a little Ziploc bag, and I just put a couple seeds in here. Now this paper towel is not soaking wet, just damp enough where it's not dripping necessarily. So I just popped the seeds in there, and I'm hoping you can see that they have a little tail, so they're starting to grow. And at this point I know that I can put them in the soil, and they'll, you know, just start popping off. So let me grab, I have like a little tweezer here. And so what I did is I made a couple little holes here. You don't want to plant your seeds too deep. If you plant them too deep, they have trouble finding their way up sometimes, especially with really small seeds like this. So then what I do, and you could do it with your hand, I just, you know, these are small, so I'm just going to boop, put them right in there, one by one. Now, another thing I should mention is these seeds are kind of close together, as you might know, and I'm not putting them in little cells, individual cells. So what I typically do with tomatoes is I kind of plant them pretty densely when I'm starting them off, and then I will separate them. Tomatoes, you know, generally from what I have found, don't have any type of hard time separating if you need to, you know, move them around. Certain plants don't like their roots disturbed, And if you do that, nasturtium is one, different flowers, different, certain things. Watermelon, cucumbers are sometimes difficult because their roots are super, how would I call it, almost like wet spaghetti, where if you are messing around with them too much, they can break and rip, and your plant might be fine, but you also might just, mess it up completely. So we don't want that. But tomatoes really have no problem separating. They also can develop roots all along the stems. So I plant these pretty densely just to save a little space in the beginning. And then when they get, probably, I don't know, let's say 2.5, 3 inches, I will separate them into their own pots. And really, it will be, so 1 tomato plant per 3-inch pot. And these could actually, for the most part, unless we have like a late cold snap, these will stay in this pot until they're ready to go into the garden. And at that point, they're going to be probably like, I don't know, at least 12 inches. At least 12 inches, so they're going to be pretty big. But you'll see as the season goes on how they do and how they grow up, and I'll show you how I separate them. So, fun little fact here, all right? I lost all of my plant labels. I had a bunch of these ones that you buy, you buy a pack of them and they give you like, who knows, 100, I don't know. But I lost them. They're probably somewhere around here, but I can't find them. So the other day when I was starting some lettuce, I was like, well, I could use popsicle sticks, which I don't really like to do because they can rot. It's wood. The marker will fade also, which is a big problem. So for, multiple reasons, I don't really like to use popsicle sticks. You can do it. Yeah, I've done it before. I'm sure a lot of people have done it before and probably still do. But I really wasn't feeling that. So what I did, I was like brainstorming a little bit. And I know that around back to school time, I always buy like extra school supplies because they're pretty cheap. Some stuff is like cents, only a couple cents here and there. So I have a bunch of folders, like plastic folders. Now these are not super sturdy, but they'll do the job just fine. So I cut up a bunch, actually not a bunch of folders. I cut up one of my folders and I have plenty of plant stakes. And if I need more, I can make more because I have extra folders, and it cost me like, what? Less than a penny to make this. Because I'm pretty sure I got the folders for like, maximum was 50 cents a folder, but I want to say it was more like 25 cents a folder. And I got a million plant stakes out of that. Okay, so now the seeds are in here. I have a spray bottle with just water. I'm just going to spray around, make sure. Now this soil or this potting mix, whatever, seed starting mix, is kind of a little damp anyway. But I do want to make sure that I get a nice bit of water onto this. Now when you're starting seeds, and even when I start my seeds in the pots here, you got to make sure that you're moistening them every day, because if they dry out, you might be able to save them, but as a rule, when the seed is trying to break open and actually grow, if it's not moist, it's not going to do what it should be doing. So there is that, and that's what I do, and I'm going to do, I have a bunch more that I have to do. I have some really cool seeds this year that I'm super excited about, and I've never tried these, so I don't know if you can see this. Don't mind my handwriting. I've never had the best handwriting in the world. Don't judge me. Anyway, these are Orange Hat dwarf tomatoes. So they only grow to be, I want to say like 8 inches, 10 inches, which is far, far less than what this will grow. This plant will easily grow in my yard at least 4 feet. I've had plants grow taller than me, and I'm 5'2". So it could grow up to 6 feet if you're trellising it properly. Anyway, this is a dwarf variety. And so what I'm doing, and these are expensive, and you only get like 10 seeds per pack. So these are ones I definitely wanted to start in this method, just to make sure I get everything germinating that I would hope for the amount of money that I paid for it. And what I think is really cool about this is I have quite a few friends that live in apartments, and they want a garden. Who doesn't want a garden? They have kids, you know, kids love picking tomatoes and everything like that. So these, they can literally, they can go in a 6-inch pot, you know, they can go in just a regular garden pot that you would keep flowers in, and they're not going to be out of control. Now, I don't think that they're going to produce, obviously, as much as a 6-foot tall tomato plant will. But you know what? If you're in an apartment and you love to garden, and you know you're looking for some sort of option, or you want to get your kids into it, this is going to be cool. So I'm going to be doing a bunch of these and giving them out, you know. And who doesn't want a baby tomato plant? I mean, I'm sure these things are not going to stick around for long. And of course, I'm going to keep some myself because I want to see what's up with these little baby tomato plants. I shouldn't say baby, dwarf tomato plants, right? So anyway, back to this little Rosella cherry. So once, and this goes for not only tomatoes, but this goes for any plant that you have. Once this thing pops out of the ground and you're starting to see the first, I forget what they're called. They're like not the true leaves. I don't know. Anyway, you'll see 2 little leaves that pop out. And once that happens, you need to put light on them. They need some sort of light. Some people can do it in their windows. I cannot, because I am east facing, and eastern sun is great for my houseplants that I have. They love it. It's amazing. But it's not going to be enough light for these to properly grow. So I'm going to put an artificial light on this. Now, my artificial light is not some fancy grow light setup, okay? Actually, some might call it a little rickety and a little, I don't want to say ratchet, because that's not necessarily what I'm trying to convey here. But I have, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you. Yeah, I can. So I did some research a couple years ago on what type of light we need for, you know, for plants to grow. And so, let me see if I could do this. I have this light bulb here, all right? This light bulb in itself, I think it was about $15 on Amazon. It has the proper lumen, and it has the proper, there's another, what is it called? Something K, I forget. I don't know. I forget. I'm going to have to figure out. I thought it said it right here, but anyway, the lumens are crazy. The lumens are like 5,000. I don't know. I have all this stuff written down, but I don't really remember at the moment, because it's K, it's like K units or something like that. Anyway, you need these things. So your typical lights that you have in your house, your, you know, the stuff in your kitchen or wherever, your lamps, that does not have what you need. You need a crazy bright light, okay? That's what the sun is. The sun is a crazy bright light, and that's what you need. I have successfully grown indoor plants with this light for probably going on 4 years now. Yeah, a $15 to $20 light bulb is not super cheap, right? Obviously. But I actually have 2. I bought another one last year because it, you know, I needed it, or so I thought. You know, I do. I do a lot of plants. But it's going to be a whole lot cheaper than buying a whole, like, setup for indoor growing. I've looked at different, oh my God, how many hours have I looked at different things? And this, for me, was something I wanted to try, and it worked. It worked, and it's still working. And then what I do, again, this is where it's kind of like rickety and a little, you know, what do they call it, Mickey Mousing it, right? So this goes in here, I attach it to my light, and I shine it down over here. All right. Now, as far as my lamp itself, this is what I have is like one of these bendable, it's kind of, I can't really show you right now. It's like a bendable tall lamp that you could put in the corner somewhere, and it has several different, like, we'll call them tentacles, right? It's like octopus arms, and you can move the thing wherever you want it to go. So that's what I've been doing, and it works great. Now, initially, when I first bought this light bulb many, many years ago, I had a shop light. So it has the silver hood that you would have, and it was just something that was at my house. You know, my husband has it for whatever he does. I don't know, working on the car maybe, who knows. So he had it out there, and that worked great. And it has like a little clip on it, so you can clip it wherever you want it. And I didn't wind up using that now because I have more plants now, and it just, there was no, like, I would have to create like some wild stand to clip it on, and I just wasn't going to do that. So I was like, you know what? I got this weird little tentacle stand lamp in my corner that is kind of ugly. Actually, I don't really like it. It's very 90s, or it reminds me of like a bachelor pad, but it's great for this. It's great for this. Works out wonderfully, and it makes it so I don't have to buy my plants. I can grow them, and you know what? It's fun to grow plants. One thing I will say about the light, though, is that now I'm at home a lot. Would I leave this crazy powerful light on if you're not going to be at home? And you need to leave these on for like at least 10 hours a day. No, I don't know if I would do that. You know what I mean? If you're a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, if you work from home, then, you know, I would leave it on. And, you know, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. But even if I'm going out for the day, while my plants are in like full grow mode, if I'm going out and I know I'm not going to be home for a very long time, I don't leave this on. You know, I click it off, and the plants turn out fine. They're not affected. If I'm going on vacation, I am not leaving this on. Now, this is going to be the first year I actually will be away for a couple days during my indoor growing season. So I'm going to find out how bad the plants do while I'm away just with the sun. I'm going to try to optimize my sun situation here. But anyway, so that's the deal. I don't know if I have a link for this. It's on, you know, maybe you could see the name of it. It's like Intertech. And you want to make sure it's, I don't know, you can see the model number and stuff. Easy to look up on Amazon. Now, these are not advertised as plant lights at all. You know what I mean? So I'm not telling anybody that this is going to work and you don't have to worry about it. It's something you should try if you can, and you don't want to, you know, if you can figure it out like I did. I think it's going to work great. I actually think I wrote a review on Amazon saying I use this to grow my plants with. Of course, this is off-label use, right? This is meant for like, I want to say for like an office, a bright office. You'll see if you do, well, you'll see it in my videos probably, even if you don't get them. It's super bright. You know, definitely don't stare at it because it'll be similar to staring into the sun. It's crazy bright. Yeah, so that's it, you know. So I'm going to finish up doing what I'm doing, and you'll see how everything goes. I'm going to be doing a lot with my plants. All right, guys, I hope you like it, and I know not everybody watches my videos for gardening, but I hope everybody would grow something because it's just so wonderful. It's so good for your mental health. It's so good for your physical health. It is so enriching. It's the most enriching thing next to, I don't know, maybe some people go to church to get it, you know, to get what I get out of gardening. Maybe some people run marathons to get it, you know. But being in the soil, being with the earth, there is nothing better. And if you take care of our mother, then our mother will take care of us. You know what I mean? So on that note, I'm going to finish up doing what I'm doing, and I hope everybody has a great week. Happy spring. Peace out.